Hey, fourth grade. Talked about two strategies. We talked about a strategy for perimeter and area the other day that you learned in third grade called tiling. And we're going to work on just perimeter today. A second strategy called a formula. So please make this the title of your next 3-page Unit Math notebook. And when you're all set, close it up and just think with me until we get to the we do. Okay. So let me remind you real quick how we did this the other day. So we're just going to talk perimeter today, not area. And so what we did, we kind of partitioned this into its 5 feet, my parking spot. It's parking spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet long. And then we partitioned this into 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. And then we drew these all the way across for the area, but we wouldn't really need to do it. We're not looking for the area today, so we just would have also done the 5 feet over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 9 feet over here. To make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and then we said, okay, so now that I've kind of partitioned it up, I can just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So the perimeter was 28 feet. I would need 28 feet of paint to make a perimeter around my parking spot. So that can be kind of a pain to draw all of those partitions in there and count them up. So there is a second way you can do it a little faster. So I skip back to my parking spot. Instead of partitioning it up like that, so if that's 9 feet and that's 5 feet, since this is a rectangle, this is also 5 feet, and this is also 9 feet. And what I ended up doing, if you paid attention back when I partitioned it, is I had 9 feet on this side, and then I added 5 feet on this side, and then I added 9 feet on this side, and then I added 5 feet on this side. So really all I ended up doing to get to 28 was do 9 plus 5 plus 9 plus 5, and if you do a little math in your head, I just added up the lengths of all those sides, and I really got 28 feet. So when you look at a rectangle, before we even have, if I pretend you don't even know the dimensions of it, let's say I don't know how big my car is, usually the side that a rectangle is sitting on, I imagine this sitting up, this is usually called the length. And this is often called the width, how long it is and how wide it is. Length, long, width, wide. And those often get abbreviated. The length gets abbreviated with an L. A lot of times an L can kind of look like a 1 in math, so sometimes I'll do a cursive L instead of a script L. So either of those are okay. And then the width gets abbreviated with a W. So what I do is a short way to make what's called a formula for this, since what I'm going to do is go back and add the length here. This is a length. And then I'm going to add a width of 5. And then I'm going to add a length. And then I'm going to add a width. Really, for any rectangle, even if you didn't know what the perimeter was, it has what's called a formula, which is that the perimeter equals the length plus the width plus the length plus the width. If I were to do that, I'm adding up the length plus the width plus the length plus the width. And so then if I know the length and the width, so in this case it was 9 and 5, I can just say, well, then the perimeter is just adding those up. It's 9 plus 5 plus 9 plus 5. And that's how I would calculate my perimeter. So this is what's called a formula for perimeter. It is the length plus the width plus the length plus the width. There's actually another one. There's two different formulas that kind of mean the same thing. And let me show you what that second one is too. So if I put my dimensions in there and my letters, so that's a 9 and that's a 9 and that's a 5 and that's a 5. And we would say that's a length, a width, and a width. So another way I could do it, instead of going around as I like to do, I often like to go in a full kind of rectangle. It's like I'm going to start here and go length plus width plus length plus width. Since the length is the same here and here, this is always going to match this, and in a rectangle, and this is always going to match this. A lot of times, instead of doing length plus width plus width, people will use the formula like this. They'll say, well, since these are the same, I'm going to do 2 times the length, because there's 2 lengths, and then I'm going to add to it 2 times the width. 2 times the width. So I'm going to multiply this by 2, and then I'm going to multiply this by 2 and add them up. And if you do that, you still get the same thing. You get 2 times the length, which was 9, plus 2 times the width, which was 5, which gives you 18 plus 10, which is still 28. Same answer I got either way. So these are both formulas for area that you'll see people use. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, or length plus width plus length plus width. Either one works just fine. These are handy because here, this was no problem to do the partition or the tile strategy, and I could just count them up. But like, let's say I didn't want to just make a parking space, I wanted to make like a parking lot. And my dimensions were really big. The tiling strategy is not very practical here. I have no interest in partitioning this into 775 feet in this parking lot, and this into 215 feet in my parking lot. Totally impractical. So sometimes the formula strategy is necessary because your rectangle is just too big to possibly do this with. So in this case, I'm really going to need my formula strategy. Now, the formulas aren't something you have to memorize. I think you can figure them out whenever you need them. Because you know for a rectangle, if this is 775 feet, this is the same dimension. And if this is 215 feet, this is the same dimension. And so to find the perimeter, if you remember what perimeter is, it's easy to remember. Like I just pick a corner to start and do length plus width plus length plus width. I don't have to memorize that formula, so don't be intimidated. I can always just figure it out. Perimeter is length plus width plus length plus width. So that's going to be 775 plus 215 plus 775 plus 215. And that's a good bit of math to do, and it's sure, but I can do it, and it's a lot better than doing that partition strategy. Five, 10, 15, 20, 9, 10, 17, 18, 8, 10, 17, 18, 19, 1980. So I would read 1,980 feet of paint if I add length plus width plus length plus width. My other option, remember, is to do 2 times the length, because I have 2 775s, plus 2 times the width, 2 215s. That one, in this case, that's going to be a lot more work. I like this one when I can do the multiplication in my head. Doing 2 times 775 is not easy to do in my head. Plus 2 times 215, that's not too bad to do in my head. But if you didn't want to do those in your head, this is probably the better strategy. If you're better at adding, use this one. If you're better at multiplying, use this one. This would be 1550 plus 430, which is also going to be 1980. I did that all with like number talk kind of strategies in my head, but you may not want to. So 2 times length plus 2 times width, or length plus width plus length plus width. Okay, open your math notebook up. Let's do an easy one and a hard one together. So here, if you even want to find yesterday's example, here is yesterday's rectangular garden. And so my 2 ways to find this with a formula, I can do one of 2 things. I can do length plus width plus length plus width, knowing that these are gonna match. This is also gonna be 3 meters and 10 meters. So I can do perimeter equals length plus width plus length plus width, which is 10 plus 3 plus 10 plus 3 is 26. Or the other formula I can use is there's 2 10s and there's 2 3s. So my other formula I can use is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, which is 2 times 10 is 20, 2 times 3 is 6, and either way I get 26 meters. So it doesn't matter which version of the formula you use, it's kind of whichever one you're more comfortable with or makes more sense. When you get to the bigger numbers, then it's kind of like we're going to do in the next one, it can matter. So maybe instead of a rectangular garden, we're making a rectangular farm, a large area. Maybe 219 decameters by 625 decameters. Big numbers. So when the numbers get big, the formulas are a lot more practical to use than the tiling strategy. Tiling would be very obnoxious here to make 625 tiles and 219 tiles. Too hard. So I'm going to apply my formulas. So that's going to be a 219 decameters, 625 decameters, and let's see. So my 2 choices, I tend to always start with this one. I don't know why. Length plus width plus length plus width. So I tend to start with that one. Perimeter equals length plus width plus length plus width, which is 625 plus 219 plus 625 plus 219. I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and you pause too, and add those 4 numbers up, and we can just make sure we match when we unpause. I got 1,688 decameters of perimeter. Hopefully you did too. There's my math. If I messed up, don't tell me. Okay, other formula I can do, since there's 2 625s and 2 219s, I can also just treat it that way. I can say I'm going to do 2 times the length, and I'm going to add to that 2 times the width, which is 2 times 625 plus 2 times 219. I'm going to show off my number talk skills here and do these without an area model or without a partial product. Check it out. I know that 2 times 600 is 1200, and 2 times 25 is 50. So that would be 1250. Here, I know that 2 times 220 would be 440. So 2 times 219 would be 2 less. So that would be 438. And if I add 1250 and 438 together, you better believe I get 1,688 decameters. So those are the area formulas right there. 2 times length plus 2 times width, or length plus width plus length plus width. I am just about out of time. So go back over those examples. Make sure you have both the easier and the harder example written down really well, with great examples of your formula, and all your math is clear so that you can look back at this and never forget. And after you got it, I'll see you later.